If you're a senior, here are 5 different ways to scare off an attacker before they even have a chance to attack you. The first tip is to make sure that you present yourself in a more healthy way than you really are. Now, I understand you might chuckle at this a little bit because we're all getting older, but the reason I want to bring this up is because if I have 2 people, let's say, walking on the street, one person's, let's say, walking in a walker, they're hunched over, their eyes are down, as opposed to another person who's walking confidently with their chest out, shoulders back. Who is the person they're probably going to be attacking? Probably the weaker person, or at least the weaker looking person, and that's the point of this tip. We want to make sure that we look stronger than we are. So when we're walking down the street, we present ourselves as healthy as possible. So even if we don't feel that great, even if we want to hunch on over, because let's say it's a little bit more comfortable getting around, we want to make sure that if we're presenting ourselves to the public, we look as strong and as confident to people as possible. Tip number 2 is to make sure that we scan the area before we enter into an area. Now, what does that mean? Well, if we're walking outside from point A to point B, it's not a bad idea to look outside, scan the area, and see if there's any potential threats out there. If someone is, let's say, leaned up against a light post and doesn't exactly look like the safest person in the world, we want to make sure that we avoid that person. If there is an area that, let's say, is maybe a little bit darker because maybe it's at night, we want to maybe find another route to go to get to wherever we want to get to. So once again, scanning the area before we enter into your area, and that can be everything from a mall to an outside street to even going into a restaurant, let's say. Pay attention to your surroundings and know what's in your surroundings before we put ourselves actually in the surroundings. The third tip is to make sure that we make eye contact within anyone who is in our circle. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, everyone's comfort circle is going to be a little bit different. For some people, it might be, let's say, 10 feet. For other people, it might be 20 yards. Whatever it is for you, you want to make sure that you have an area around you that is your safe circle. And anybody who enters into that area, we want to make sure that we are making eye contact with that person. Why is that important? Well, for the first reason is that it exudes confidence. If we look at people, all right, as opposed to just kind of walking down with our head down, making eye contact brings out confidence, not only in us, but it also shows that person that we're confident within ourselves as well. And that's so important. But the second thing is that if someone's going to, let's say, attack us, they're going to do so under the veil of secrecy. They want to make sure that they take us by surprise. And if we acknowledge their existence, if we show them that we know that we see them, well, once again, it's going to make us a less likely target. Now, the 4th and 5th tips are bluffs. What I mean by that is that if you have somebody who comes up and is threatening us in a certain way, we want to make sure that we can throw out maybe a couple things that aren't exactly true, but make us less of a target. The first thing is that we just want to state that we're not alone. If someone comes up and maybe starts threatening us or bothering us or whatever, you say, hey, listen, you know what? My son-in-law is coming right out in a second. They're just finishing up in the store behind me. Once again, if you want to even add a little bit of humor, but also add maybe a little bit of intelligence right here, you might want to say something like, hey, listen, my 6'5" brother-in-law is coming out here in just a second to be with me. I just left him inside, but he's finishing up his shopping right now. Whoa, 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 honey, get the gun, get the gun, get the gun, get the gun, get the gun. The second kind of bluff that we have right here is maybe bringing up the whole fact of is saying that we have a weapon. Putting our hands in our pockets, making it seem like maybe we have a knife or a gun, that is only going to make us a less target. Does this person really want to attack us if we can pull out a gun and start shooting at them or pull out a knife to defend ourselves? It's once again, we want to make ourselves a less likely target, and that's what these tips are all about. What, now you actually had like a kind of a bluff story, right, that you put on, right?
Yeah, I broke down on my motorcycle one day, test driving, and was in a dark area. And I was messing with the wiring, and a car pulls up, neon lights and that, and bumping their stereo, and they turn it down, and they said, hey, do you need any help? And I'm like, no, I'm good, it's just electrical. And they sat there for a few more minutes and watched me, and
right.
And I kept looking up at them, and they pulled up a little closer to me, and you could tell that they were talking to each other. And they said, you sure you don't need any help? And I just had this eerie feeling, so I stepped back and grabbed the back of my waist area and said I don't need any help. and away they went. So
That's a great story because you didn't even have to tell them that you had a gun.
No.
It just, you seemed like you had
I
a
just
weapon
made
there, right?
sure that they saw my hand going back.
Right.
You know.
Fighting smarter over harder is important, but it's still very important to make sure that you can physically handle yourself. And that comes down to some self-defense skills. Make sure you guys check the description. There's a link in there for an incredible self-defense program that you can get right now.